Is that an electric vest, CeCe?
It's an electric vest. It's got 3 different heating levels.
You're glowing.
I am glowing.
Is that
literally
cold? Is it that cold in here?
It's cold. My fingers are really cold. My toes are really cold.
I mean, after the little road trip we just had and how cold it got, I feel fantastic. This
morning it was 34 degrees.
People listening to this are going,
yeah, so cool.
Pussies.
Yeah, we have t-shirts on.
That's so funny. That's funny. All right. How is it? Is it warm?
It's so warm.
What level are we on right now?
We're on the medium level. So red is hot, white is medium, and blue is low.
So I'm sitting here in a t-shirt. I'm perfectly comfortable. So I'm taking bets on how long it takes for her to, 1, turn that off, and then 2, start
turning it back,
stripping it down, getting down to naked in the studio.
Yeah, no.
Nobody
needs to see that.
Funny, here we are in the winter. It's been kind of crazy weather, and we just took a little road trip and made contact with some friends and some new people, made some new friends along the way. It was really fun, actually. Mm-hmm. We wind up in conversations that come up quite frequently. But I just wanted to bring up a conversation we had the last time we were on the show, which was more specific to folks that had been really, grinding on their health and fitness program since maybe the beginning of the year, or at least the last couple of months, and maybe starting to see a slowdown in their gains and their fat loss, if that was their goal, and how to make adjustments and things to look at in order to keep them on track and maybe redirect or take what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of reestablish baselines and make sure they could continue to move in the same direction to avoid frustration, avoid sort of falling off the wagon or doing anything crazy to continue the weight loss goal or the muscular gains goal or whatever that may have detrimental effects down the line. And so after that conversation, we were out and about talking with folks, and we ran into people that started the year with really good intentions, and for whatever reason are just totally lost. Mm-hmm. They've maybe
holidays over, they're working again, they're traveling again, and so their schedule has changed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like as coaches or personal trainers, I always tried to really prep the more junior coaches. Like, hey guys, I know you guys are specifically here, because our busiest time actually was always between November and the first of the year, like from a client service perspective. Oh, yeah. People listening to this might go, that's usually the slowest time in the gym. Yeah, but when people are really focused during those holidays, the winter months come, they're not outside as much, their schedule is a little tighter, they're really scheduling in their workouts to make sure they get done. And coaches around here were usually very busy. It's the most service we would see, one of the busiest times. But I would always warn them, like, hey, just understand this. When kids go back to school, people go back to work after the first of the year, schedules change, people's intentions change, work priorities change by your employer, which means you have to adjust to those, whatever those might be. There's always, like, when you're coming in the first of the year, there's always these changes. Everybody's trying to make some change, right? Whether it's fiscally or from a managerial or organizational perspective. Mm-hmm. So here we are, and to your point, like, people came in with really good intentions based on what the past looked like, or at least up until that moment. They came in gung-ho, they really tried some stuff, and then for whatever reason, they've lost their way or fallen off. And they're just kind of wandering now, wanting to maybe, but not executing, jumping in for a minute and then jumping back out because something else got in the way. And those are true stories. And those
I just had this conversation the other day with one of our current members, and she was talking about how, putting her membership on hold, or what are some other options that she could do right now because her work schedule is crazy. And, she has a relatively new kid. I think it's probably coming up on, a year at least, but still. And then her partner, he's changed jobs as well. So, I had a conversation with her about what it is that we can continue to offer her so that she's still working out. And, she's like, well, can I come in and use the cardio equipment? I said, yeah, you can come in and use the cardio equipment, but, you're going to be signing up for open gym. You need to use the strength training stuff. And she's like, oh, I can use that. I'm like, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, that's what I would advise.
Yeah, that psychology is interesting to me, that, when things get tough, people are talking about putting their memberships on hold or canceling them. This has been going on as long as gyms have existed, right? Like I sign up for the gym at the first of the year. I recognize I'm not using it for whatever reasons. And the first thing that goes is like, well, I'm just having a hard time. I don't want to pay this anymore. So I cut out the gym. And we've talked about all the crazy shit people do after they've done that and they find themselves sort of at rock bottom or, in a place where they feel really poorly about themselves, they've gained a bunch of weight, or they're desperate because, oh my God, that summer vacation is coming and I don't want to, I need to lose weight or whatever for it. That psychology of, it's busy right now, I should cancel my membership. Like exercise and my health are not a priority. In their head it is, but what their actions aren't matching the reality of the fact that this is a time, if you're feeling that stress, this is a time where you need to make sure you're prioritizing this. So the solution isn't that. The solution is like, let's cut it out. So one of the big things is getting your head around like, okay, life is hard right now. Okay, shit's hard. We have to figure out a way to get this in. Movement is medicine. You need to be moving. So you have to figure out a way to, maybe you don't need to go to the gym to do that. That's fine. But what are you going to do if you're canceling your gym membership? So in this case, we're trying to find, alternatives for her. Or whatever.
So, she's been with us. She's been a very loyal client. And she and her partner both. So, open gym is an option. And so we signed her up for open gym.
Yeah. So that could be an option for some. Maybe it's not for others or whatever. But again, the point of this is wandering and kind of feeling lost and then just kind of throwing up your hands and going, well, I just, I got to walk away from this. And without a little encouragement from somebody to go, well, are you sure that's what you really want to do? Maybe we can find some type of an alternative for you. That's what we call developing a plan, right? Around whatever the issues are.
Yeah, let me clarify too. It's not that she didn't want to pay for her open gym membership, but she couldn't make it to the classes that we had.
Yes.
That her membership, she couldn't make it to the classes that we had in the time. So she's still coming and she's still making exercise a priority. It's just different.
But the interesting part was there's not this like, what can we do here? The conversation started with, I need to cancel my membership or I want to put my membership on hold. Not, I'm having this problem. I'm having this challenge. And I'm wondering if you can help me work through a solution. So there's like this, again, the psychology is what I'm trying to get people to do is reach out for some help here. Reach out for some alternatives. It doesn't have to be all in or all out. There are things that you can be doing. The first thing you got to do is get your head around this, that you don't have to be perfect, but you do need to do something. And I'm going to stand by that. Like you need to do something. So as we get into the pieces of how do you find yourself back, on path to get back into your exercise program or on track with your health and fitness, when you found yourself sort of wandering aimlessly, there's a few things. And I think the first thing is the mindset piece, and wrapping your head around, I need to do something. So how am I going to do that? And I think the first thing that comes up is having a plan. But before you have a plan, you have to really set some goals. I want to talk about goals.
Yeah, well-defined goals.
Yeah, because I think if you ask most people, the common stuff always comes up. Like, so what's your goal? I need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a very overarching, ultimately, I would like to lose weight. But to me, actually, that's not a goal. That's very loosely defined. You want to lose weight.
Yeah, because there's going to be 30 or 40 goals inside of that one goal, those subtasks that are going to achieve that goal, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I mean, I think weight loss is a byproduct of you achieving other more measurable goals.
Exactly.
More attainable and measurable goals. So getting past or digging down to the next level and peeling back that layer and going, all right, well, what are the things I need to do in order to lose weight? And that doesn't necessarily mean running out and joining the gym. Yes, I'm a gym owner. I would like you to be here. Yes, I make money when you come here. Fuck, yes, that's all true. But you don't have to be here to do that. To your example, CeCe, I mean, we've been working with this person for a long time. I wouldn't want to see her go. Yes, there's a monetary thing there, but I wouldn't want to see her go because she's put so much work and effort in and come through so many other challenges. You mentioned the new baby and, work, and there was COVID in there, and there's all kinds of shit that I know this individual had to work through in order to get to this point. I would hate to see her kind of just
throw her hands up and be like, oh.
And walk away from her support system, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But Again, I think the weight loss is a byproduct of setting those goals, as Jeff was talking about. Like there's many things you can be doing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym. So setting goals. If you're that busy person, and so we talked to, and again, when we were on this trip, we talked to so many people, and again, a lot of very similar conversations. Some corporate executives, some first responders, some medical care, healthcare professionals that are finding themselves very stretched,
challenged,
very stretched. And I think, a lot of people listening to the show can probably relate to that it's bell to bell, right? With the shift work, or it's bell to bell with the business that's at hand and managing employees and all the things. Look, that is life.
And still having a family and a partner and all of those things.
Commute times as we're going back to work, and dealing with kids and schedules and basketball practices and jujitsu practice and whatever else. Like these are choices like that have been made, and we have to figure out ways to work with those. So again, I think people can kind of relate to that if they've fallen off track. And if you're one of those people that's like, no, I'll never let that shit get in the way, I've got this figured out. Well, somebody that almost always lets this stuff get in the way or is really challenged by this, and you might be able to help them with some of the things we're about to talk about. But again, one of those things is mindset, and you can't change that for somebody. They have to change that for themselves. So let's talk about goal setting and some of the specific things that people can do to help themselves.
Okay. So as far as the goal setting, I want to work out 3 times. I need to work out 3 times a week, or I want to work out 3 times a week. So how am I going to do that? One of the situations or the conversations that we had with somebody, they're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. They have an hour commute. I think that they start at about 7, but they like to get there a little bit early. And then they work a 12-hour shift. And then they're getting home at 7:30, 8 o'clock. They have 2 kids and a partner. She was saying, so where do I find a workout? Because I'm exhausted by the time I get home, and I still have to make dinner on some occasions. So, in those instances, well, if you're not working the other 3 or 4 days, then you make your exercise on those 3 or 4 days a priority. And it doesn't have to be an hour and a half. It can be 30 minutes, split it out 30 minutes over the next 3 or 4 days. And if you're taking kids to school, get up, take them to school, and then make your time when there's zero distraction with kids and partner, and get your workout done then. Before pickups and the rest of family life. Something else that we had talked about is, maybe at the end of the day, when everything's done, just take a 10 to 15 minute walk. They have a treadmill at home inside. Mm-hmm. Take a 10, 15 minute walk.
There's pavement outside as well. It's free.
Yep.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yep. Yeah. So what you're talking about is working through the problem.
Exactly.
Right? Working through the problem and not trying to overcommit to anything. I think when people are trying to get into this mindset or recreate, a positive mindset about doing this, they start to reach back into history and like what worked for me before.
For sure.
Right? And what's really important when you're kind of going through this intention setting, right? And this creating this healthy and productive mindset for yourself is to be very real about where you currently are. Mm-hmm. And you just painted a really a very real picture about a person. And I bet a lot of people out there can very much relate to that. I can. I mean, as a parent, I remember when Abby was super little, there was a big juggling act there. I don't want to say I'm better than anybody else, but me and the ex, we worked it out. We figured a way. Mm-hmm. We had to get our stuff done, right? So we figured it out. But going back to the creating the right mindset is like people reach back into history. Okay, well, what worked for me before? When was I most successful? And that was generally it goes back to like, well, when I was back in college, or whatever. Yeah. When you had nothing, you had no liabilities. All you had to do was show up for class, take some tests, whatever. Maybe you had a part-time job. I don't know, but let's just say life was much different then than it is now. So reaching back that far and expecting that you're going to be able to do those things in that way, in that manner, you are in a completely different place. Let's be honest, right? Maybe you're not so different, but I'm going to bet that you are. There's jobs, there's responsibilities, there's liabilities, there's also fitness, and there's fitness levels, or lack of fitness at this point. Trying to jump back into what you did before isn't gonna make a lot of sense. So I think what you got to do is really take stock, of where you are, and then very, very quickly work through the hurdles. Like, what are the things? What are the things? So you mentioned a few things there, like schedule. That's a thing. Mm-hmm. Where can I find some time? How much time is it? And like you said, like, okay, it's 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week is better than no minutes, 7 days a week. So start there, because what you'll often find is that starts to create a little bit of momentum, and you'll actually find and be very surprised at how much time you can carve out. And there's a couple of things that come along with this when we start talking about kids and family and things, or people that you have responsibilities to, because we have clients here that take care of their folks. And it seems to very often get in the way of their own health and fitness program. Well, I can't come in because my mom's not well today, or she needs me here at the house. Okay, so your mom was there for you when you were a kid, and now you're trying to be them, or be that person for them now later in life. Look, I totally get it. But at the same time, like, are there ways to create some independency on both ends so that you can have the time that you need in order to take care of yourself? All right, you can't come to the gym. What are you going to do? Right? If that's 2 hours out of your day because there's a commute over here, there's the workout, and there's the commute back. Okay, fine. What if we cut that time in half? Can you squeeze an hour in of something at home? What could that be? That's called eliminating a hurdle. Right. And you have to want to do that, right? And you have to create the mindset of like, okay, so where are the points in my day in order to do that? So, or that I can do that. And you made a really good point. Like, the answer is not buying a treadmill.
No.
The answer is not buying a treadmill. I mean, how many people have done that? I mean, we've joked about that on the show before, but like, if I buy a treadmill, that'll fix my problem. No, you have no plan yet. You haven't figured this stuff out. So this goes back to the planning. And when you start planning, you're like, where can I put it in? You have to eliminate the hurdles. So mindset, eliminating hurdles. What are some of the other hurdles that, commonly come up that there are answers for if you want to change them? I hear about the dinner time and the meal time things. Let's talk about that, because, again, maybe it's not going to the gym, but it's addressing your nutrition. And there are many, many things that you can do starting right now, without having to, again, go to the gym or even go to the store, right, to address your nutrition, to eliminate the hurdles. I've said this before. Everybody knows of at least one thing, whether it's something they consume or some behavior they engage in or some thought that creeps into their mind that they could work on eliminating right now. That's a hurdle. And it's going to prevent you or hinder you, from achieving whatever your ultimate goals are. What are those things? I can tell you right now, like, if I eliminated the beer from my life, like, I would drop probably 10 pounds. I mean, it's an easy thing for me to do when I'm ready and I really want that, then I'll do it. Right. But you have to want to do that. So again, going back to some of those things, like, let's talk about the food thing.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I'm laughing over here because I've had a couple conversations recently, and 2 individuals have said, yeah, I should take DoorDash off my phone.
Fuck yes.
Just because it's so easy,
it's
right?
Lazy.
And usually the things that they're consuming are not healthy items.
One of the things that's funny about these conversations that we're having is because we're on the road, right? We're outside of our own routine. At some level, I feel a little bit guilty about this. Like, one of these conversations was happening over a pizza. Right? And so,
yeah, but how often do we have pizza?
Well, so that's the thing. That's what I want to bring up. Like, okay, so we're outside of our routine. And when you have a routine, it's totally okay to be outside of your routine. And maybe that's the time, when you're on a trip to, kick back a little bit, take a little bit of a diet break, as we referred to it, or whatever. But the interesting part is like, and there's nothing wrong with pizza. Right? There isn't. But if you're doing that as a means, like a major
once a week,
or that's part of it's part of your DoorDash, routine, that can become a problem. I don't think people, we need to beat that up. Like, it is what it is. But for us, like, it's like, this is awesome. We're having pizza. Like, we don't typically do that. It was really good pizza. And now we're having this conversation about making better food choices and how to manage your meals and stuff like that. So it's a little bit contradictory, but it isn't. when you bring into context that this is very much outside of our routine and we're totally fine. Like I didn't feel bad about the food I was eating. I felt more bad about I don't know if I'm sort of contradicting, what we're trying to tell people, but the DoorDash thing is a huge thing. Take that shit off your phone. Spend time, plan for time to go grocery shopping. You probably heard it before, meal prep. There are lots of meal prep companies out there that would be way better than ordering through, DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever else.
Yeah. I had a family member several years ago tell me that every morning, they would stop at McDonald's before going to work. And in the Midwest, it's easily a 20-minute commute in rural, Illinois. So they would go to McDonald's and then they would get on the road. And I'm like, McDonald's every day? Oh my gosh.
So here's the other thing.
So you know what? Cut out McDonald's twice a week.
Just start with that's a very easy goal to set.
Yeah.
That's a goal. Yeah. That would equate to weight loss, right? And for most people.
So my mother did that. She was at McDonald's every morning.
Oh, wow.
And 20 minutes later, she'd be in the bathroom having diarrhea.
Right. And
talking and wondering what I'm like, really, dude?
Choices and consequences.
Really, dude? It's the McDonald's that you just went and had. That was 2 hash browns and the sausage egg McMuffin.
Yeah, gross, man.
Disgusting.
Some people have iron guts and they can deal with stuff like that. But I'll put it to you a different way. In terms of, again, mindset, making choices, eliminating hurdles. I know people that stop at Starbucks every single morning on their way in. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use like your $5 coffee 5 days a week is $25 a week. That's $100 a month that you could be putting towards a gym membership
the old sale pitch, baby.
Or whatever. I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say that $5 to $7 coffee you're drinking is also chock full of other things, right? And often it's sugar, fat. And I'm not saying that sugar and fat are bad for you. What I am saying is if you have a weight loss goal and you're not equating your calories properly and you're not thinking about these things as you're going to work every day, that is an easy hurdle to eliminate. You can take your $100, buy a fucking Keurig and use the K-Cups. Those are the easiest, most convenient things, you could possibly do. And, it's black coffee or whatever, or at least you're going to have more control over what goes into it. Now, I don't want to go, ask me, I have a solution for everything, right? I'm a trainer. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Solution oriented.
But I think people can wrap their heads around, that's just one thing. It's not that could equate to weight loss down the road. It also equates to time, right? So going back to the reasons people don't do these things or they fall off the wagon is that a lot of times the excuse is time or the reason, call it whatever you want. That saves time. You don't have to commute there. You don't have to stand in line. You don't have to phone it in on your thing. As convenient as it is, it still takes time for you to do that. You could be using that time for something else, along the way. So those are things to again, eliminate hurdles. I think other things are cut out people in your life that aren't supportive.
Big one.
Whether it's from a social perspective and or get people on your team that are in your life. So you start to create this network, or let's just say a support structure for what it is that you're doing, and why it is that you're doing it, and be very open and honest about it, and share your goals, share your needs with those people.
Okay, but Scott, you know what? I have 2 kids, and my kids don't like to eat, what I need to eat. My lean proteins and my vegetables, they don't like that. They want chicken nuggets or they want hamburgers and french fries. What am I supposed to do?
They'll be hungry one day.
Yeah. I love that.
They'll eat it at some point.
Yeah. When they get hungry enough, they'll eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing when we change the dog's food, right? Oh, you don't like that filet mignon this week?
Good.
You're going to get just plain kibble and you'll eat when you're hungry.
When you're hungry, you're going to eat. In all seriousness, I think you probably know my sort of predisposed answer to this, and that is no, this is what God made for dinner, and this is what you're eating. So if you're mom or your dad and you're facing this challenge, remember this is the monster you've created. And so you have to take personal responsibility for that. And so, how do you work around that? Well, that's you as a parent that needs to do that. But I think having a conversation, with those, again, whether it's your partner, your significant other, and the kids about what meal times need to start looking like and start to work that into the lifestyle, especially if you're in charge of the cooking, as you just said. You're the boss, right? You're the boss. Act like it.
You're the one buying the food.
Yeah, you're the one buying the food. Act like it. And again, like people go, oh, it's easier said than done.
No.
Fuck off. Fuck off. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I have done this. I understand that it is not easy to do. It is hard work. But I'm not going to accept the excuse, well, I just, my kids just won't do it or won't eat.
It goes back to what you just said, and I love it. You created the monster.
So I would take a hard look at that situation and then look at yourself as to why you're in the situation you're in right now in terms of the accountability and the commitment that you've made to making change. If you can't control the 6-year-old, how in the hell are you going to control yourself? So that might seem or sound a little harsh, but the bottom line is behavior change is important here. Yeah. So behavior change in a family unit, or in a family environment or something like that means everybody needs to be on the same page. Don't just think that because you've changed your mindset, everybody else is going to do the same. So I would sit down, I would start having some conversations. Again, that significant other, how can they help you? Particularly when you don't have the time or because something comes up and shit's going to come up. Right? Or the bandwidth to deal with the things that are in front of you. Like you're going to need help with a meal or at least a couple times a week. Like, hey, look, I need to get on the treadmill for 20 minutes, 3 days a week. And you know what? What I need your help with is just, hey, I'll get the dinner started. If you could just finish it up and expect that they're going to mess it up. Like they're definitely going to mess it up. There's going to be some challenging bumps in the road, but you have to stay committed to the process. Or, hey, maybe you clean up the dishes, and get the kids in the bath and whatever. After dinner, I'm going to get on the treadmill, or I'm going to go for that walk, or I'm going to go out into the garage and get my workout done. Kids, mommy needs to take care of herself. She wants to be healthier. She wants to, so she can be healthier for you. So she's going to be out in the garage every night between 6:30 and 7. Don't fucking go out there. Unless the place is burning down, don't bother your mom, right? She's out there. So that significant other needs to know you're the go-to. You're on fire watch, dude. Like this, you're in charge. So unless the place is burning down, don't come get me, right? Start to set up these environments and
expectations and boundaries.
These expectations and boundaries with the people around you. You brought up the work excuse, like work's too busy. I can't come in. Or, we start with that client. It's like, hey, work's really crazy right now. Again, you're in charge of you and you're in charge of your own health. And you need to prioritize that. And it fries me. While I understand work has to be a priority, it fries me when I see people making work the priority over their health. And we see it all the time. Trading your health for wealth or trading your health for not having to have the confrontation with your boss or whatever else. I think those things need to be established, and with a little pre-planning and you may be managing that situation a little bit, that can be really helpful. And again, sharing your challenges and what's important for you with your boss or with whoever your supervisor is. Like, look, okay, what is the schedule going to be? Because these things are important for me and I need you to know I need these things to happen in my life. So I need to know what my work schedule is going to be ahead of time. And set boundaries. Like, no, I cannot come in early. No, I cannot stay late today. Look, if it was a life and death situation, like you wouldn't fucking stay late. Like again, if your house is burning down, you would leave work. You almost need to look at it in a sense where like, no, because my house isn't burning now, but if I don't take care of this, the house will start burning down, and then you're in a situation that you cannot control. And it could be wildly, I guess, out of control. So again, setting boundaries, having conversations with people around you that are important to you in your life, that could be supportive of you, especially when things get off the rails, that can encourage you and help you. And obviously, again, going back to, the business owner in me, coaches are great. Coaches can be very helpful in this sense. And if you are a member of a gym, getting a coach, getting a trainer, where you set an appointment time where you are the focus, not your kids, not your boss, not your job, not that project, whatever else, where it's that half hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour where you focus on yourself. That is the most unselfish thing you could do, particularly if you're a family man or family woman, where you're trying to take care of people, is is to take time out for yourself to do that. So again, setting goals, but setting the boundaries and setting up the expectations in order to achieve your goals, because goals are great. But if there's no plan, right, and you don't have help to get there, you're just not.
Just spinning your wheels.
Yeah, I think for sure. So it's eliminating the hurdles after having, and then that, so that you can execute your plan. What else?
Well, we just talked about time management as well. You know what? The thing that we've talked about, not necessarily taking the time to do because we achieve something and then we just keep on going, but taking time to celebrate the successes, the small successes.
For sure. People, it's interesting how culture, particularly like Western culture, is so focused on like the food and drink part of it. Like people
celebrate.
Yeah, it's a birthday. What are we doing? Where are we going? Where are we making reservations at? And then, it's the drinks and it's the desserts and it's the food and all that. That's all great stuff. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But it's just interesting that's, when people celebrate the successes, that's what they default to because it's kind of what they know. It's not the only way to celebrate a success. Right. And so we should talk about that. Like, how do you do that? Well, first off, I think this is your goal, right? So you should feel proud of achieving your goals as you go. You should acknowledge them, right? Riding that momentum for too long can be detrimental, I think, or trying to ride that momentum for too long can be detrimental because there's going to be more challenges and there's other goals you should be constantly progressing. The point of that is I think it's important that you do acknowledge those, and it's really helpful if you share those things with other people so that they can help you with that. And it doesn't have to be food and drink. Sometimes retail is awesome.
Therapy.
Yeah, if the goal was weight loss, if we take it back to that, and you've reached that 5-pound weight loss goal for the 6 weeks or 8 weeks that you had to lose it in, your body composition is likely changed significantly. How about go buy a new workout outfit or go buy a new outfit or something like that? If that's in your finance or whatever else, that's one way to do it. I don't know. What are some other ways that people sort of celebrate their success that you've seen?
It involves money, but a manicure or a pedicure or a massage. I know that sounds kind of a little cliche as well, but I mean, people have done it because those things sometimes for some individuals aren't considered a necessity. It's a feel good. It's a luxury kind of a thing. So, I mean, people have done that. Going to a movie, renting a movie. I mean, how many times do people actually make time to sit down to watch a movie and just kind of relax? I mean, that's another way to do it as well.
Yeah, I think what's important here is that you're acknowledging it somehow. And look, there's apps and things like that you can use that, give you the thumbs up and, you can track and people really get, dead set and centered on I want to see my number go up. And when it goes up, I feel really good. There's an emotional response to that or whatever, but finding some way, that's important for you, whether that's sharing it with your friends, sharing time with a friend, whether it's, girls' day out, as we're achieving goals along the way, or things that maybe it's a challenge of actually seeing this happen when mom loses X amount of pounds or whatever. There's a projects list for the kids, for the rest of the family. When we get to this point, if I get to this point, so it's motivation for mom. That the backyard gets cleaned up, or the garage gets, gets the spring cleaning or something like that, and everybody gets involved. Mom's involved in that, by the way. She's not sitting there with her bonbons and a glass of wine on the couch while watching the kids slave away in the yard. That's not my point. This particular person has used that sort of as hey, it's kind of family time, right? And we're celebrating, but it's kind of that reverse psychology. We're celebrating my success, but we're also getting shit done that needs to get done anyway. And we're doing it as a family, Maybe it's, going for, again, getting outside and doing something you wouldn't typically do. Some people take vacations. Some people like to get away for the day or whatever else, but finding ways to celebrate and share those successes in a meaningful way, whatever that happens to be, for you.
You guys celebrate? I literally am a psycho. I just check off the box and I'm on to the next goal.
That's one of our biggest challenges and probably faults.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've never needed that in order to stay committed. So I think particularly the person we're talking about right now, who's had a tough time either getting on track or staying on track, would typically, I think those people, in general, can get a lot more value out of the celebration of it than maybe somebody like the three of us sitting at the table. Like, I don't necessarily need that, but I think for some people it is, and in this particular context it is. Going back to the previous conversation about like, hey, what do you do when your weight loss is stalled or whatever? We're not the type that's going to throw our hands up or get frustrated by that and give up. What we're going to do is, like you just said, I'm putting my fucking head down. Work harder.
Yep.
Work out more.
Be patient.
More. Oh, I cut 1,000 calories out of my diet? No problem. I'll do that right now. I'll
starve for 5 days.
Yeah, I'll suffer. So I mean, that's a really good point, Jeff. No, I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at celebrating these successes. But I think it's something to put on the list of things that could help you, as you're setting this mindset.
Like, let some people know that when you get to a spot where it's just always we're on to the next thing. Once I've finished this phase, I'm guess what? I've got the next phase programmed, and I'm coming into that, and I'm coming through that as best as I can and acclimated as I can, and trying to push and increase and see these numbers go up. And then I phase out.
Yeah, as you start to see those successes happen, I think that's the motivation. Yeah. Like, you just recognize your plan is working.
It's there. It's right?
But if you haven't ever been there, and
it takes a while.
Reaching to that history, like you never had a plan, there was randomness, and it seemed to work for you, and for whatever reasons in that point in life, it'd be really hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And what you just said there, Jeff, as far as like that being the motivating factor to keep you going. I mean, that's our next point. And that was, that is to commit to constant improvement. So once you've celebrated that success, then having the commitment to yourself to continually improve and build upon what you've achieved.
Yeah. Not sort of resting on your laurels.
Yeah, why would you want to stop?
Yeah.
That always never made sense to me. Like, people have this goal of 16-week weight loss, and they're gonna and then they just stop after they lost the weight. Whoo, I did it, and then it was done. But it's like, dude, you just did 16
Some
weeks.
Of the work.
Yeah,
I just don't for me. I just don't get why you wouldn't keep going.
Yeah, it's an unawareness. It's a mindset, and it's also just a not knowing maybe how to do that or what to
What's
do
the next step. Yeah,
and I think as you go on this journey, a lot of times, and if you've set up your sort of your network of people that support you, whether that's your coaches, your family, other people, you start to gravitate towards the people that are very supportive of what you're doing. I mean, it's no doubt you hang out with people that work out all the time. If you're one of those people that works out all the time, you're probably hanging out with other people that work out all the time. Is if you're not, that person, that group of people is probably giving you a hard time because you work out all the time. Like, you're not showing up to all the social events because you're getting your workout in, or you don't have that extra drink at the bar because, no, I got, I know how this is going to impact my workout. And largely, a lot of the time, you're getting guilted for that, or being made fun of or shamed or whatever. Maybe it's in a joking way or it's a fun way.
Still, I mean,
but that can wear on people. So that's Absolutely. What I meant about eliminating the people in your life that are holding your back, and putting people on board that are going to support you. And when I mean support, I don't mean enable or sign off on your bullshit. I mean the people that are going to be there and be real with you and help you try to find a solution to get to the next level when you find yourself without the bandwidth to do that, because shit's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And as you go through that, I think you turn into more of that mindset that you just said, like, I don't need that anymore because I recognize I can do this on my own. But it's always a good idea to have people around you to help pick you up. So putting yourself in those environments and putting yourselves in those in your situation, in that type of a situation. So you maybe eventually, I would hope that everybody would get to that mindset at one point. But look, there's a lot of challenges for people out there. Like, society has made things very easy to sit around and order food from your phone and, work at a desk and never have to leave it all day long. And, all these things to where you're being challenged physically or even psychologically, emotionally.
Or even go, as far as Target, you can go to your drive up and they'll bring it out to you. All you do is order up on the phone, and you can, instead of getting out of your car, getting out of your car and walking into the store and getting the items that you need.
I'm pulling up. Fill the back of my shit. I'm out of here. I got shit to do. I'm pulling up.
So I think, when we're doing all of this, and we're talking about these things, it's a little bit of it is, again, you've set these expectations for yourself, the boundaries, the plan is somewhat in place. You've figured out how to eliminate some of the hurdles. Maybe that's taking food out of the house that shouldn't, is that thing, right? That could hinder your success.
The pantry cleaner.
The pantry clean out. Yeah. Just go through there and get rid of the things that are not going to be helpful for you. I'm not saying they're healthy and they're going to unhealthy and they're going to kill you, but they're not going to be helpful for you. And, they may not be helpful for your family, and they may make it harder for your family to go through that behavior change that they need to go through, right? To get through. This is an undertaking if you're talking about more than just yourself, but you do need to prioritize yourself, and you need to make that a responsibility. And then again, getting into this longer term planning of how do I manage this over the long term so I never go back to where I was. And that comes with experience. You just mentioned like the 16 weeks. There's 52 weeks in a year. 16 weeks is a very short period of time.
I think my training cycle right now is like 5 mesocycles. You know what I mean? I'm like 5 years out right now.
Yeah. So you're thinking that far ahead, where some people are just thinking about, how am I going to go work my workout in today? Or how am I going to get it in this weekend?
If you don't have a plan and you're like going into the gym and you're like, what am I doing today? That's mistake number one. Right? What you're doing when you wake up that morning, because it's already written out. The only thing you don't know is, are you going to be able to hit a little 5 pounds over or not, right? Yep. Where am I going to lie in this program? And that's going to go off of the food and everything else that you're doing, right?
Food, sleep.
Yeah, by the way, for me, that's so comforting to not have to think about that. I mean, we had guys here. Guy gave a really great testimonial one time. It's on video somewhere. I think it's somewhere on our YouTube and stuff. But he's in our other social media. But he's an engineer, right? He's an engineer, and he's codes and whatever. And he's just talking about, I used to spend so much time like trying to figure out what the right workout would be and making these plans, whatever. Because he's an analytical dude, and he's all about having a plan and a roadmap for success and whatever else. And he recognized how much time he was really spending doing that. He's not an expert on any of this. And by the way, neither am I. By my own admission, but I know some things, so, why not let those people or go someplace, get a plan from somebody else, even if it's the wrong plan for you now, at least it's a plan, right? To have something in front of you that gives you some direction so you don't have to think about it, because that's time, right? And it's effort and energy. And if you're one of those people that's just constantly struggling to find the time and the energy and whatever, eliminate that as a hurdle. Like, make a small investment. Don't go to your buddy who's had success in the gym and asking them to write you a fitness program. That might be like, I get it. I get that mindset. Like, this person's had success. They're jacked. They're ripped. They got the 6-pack.
But everybody is different.
Everybody is different. And you need something different. And so do some shopping. And obviously, again, going back to the business person in me, we have programs for people, for beginners, like novice people that have been out of the game for a long time or not done it at all. There are lots of other companies that sell great programs too. So if you're not down with Red Dot Fitness, go somewhere else, but get a plan. So to your point, Jeff, you don't have to think about it. Yeah. It's so comforting. Like, I just know this is what I'm doing today. And if I fall off and I don't get it done today for whatever reason, something in life comes and hits me in the side of the head, no big deal. I just pick up where I left off the next day. But I examine like what happened, like what hit me in the side of the head, what I learned from that, like how do I avoid that the next time? There's things that are going to happen, and also realizing that and not throwing up your hands when those things do happen is an important part of this process as well. I don't know, CeCe, you got anything else over there?
No, I mean, I think we covered it, because, the last thing was, a vision, and that vision, whether you have it at the beginning or you get started with your plan, your vision's going to come about as far as, how you're going to continue on moving forward. So I think we've talked about all the points that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's just, again, having that mindset piece in the beginning, having a plan, right? Being very real about your goals, and very real about where you currently are, right? And not reaching to the past, right, for the answer. Let's look at where we are very much right now. And in that, there's plenty of people out there to help you. So, make sure you're taking advantage of your resources that exist for you. Some of that is also taking advantage of the resources that you have around you. Maybe that's your significant other, maybe that's your friends, or your social group or whatever. Getting them involved in your process, letting them know where they can help you and where they might be hindering you. Be honest. Onboard people and eliminate people that are going to hinder your success. Again, those people that can help you or lift you up when your bandwidth is low. Not sign off on your bullshit and your excuses, but understand where you're coming from and help you through to get through that and get moving on down the path. You mentioned having the vision and having that picture out in front of you of where you're trying to get to. There's that overarching weight loss, but for some people that's like the vacation or they you can visualize like being on the beach, wherever, and you really want to look and feel and perform your best at whatever this thing is. That's the vision, and that's what's going to get you out of bed, right? That's the thing that's going to get you on the treadmill when you're tired and you're exhausted at the end of the 12-hour shift and whatever else. It's also the thing that you need to reach out to when the argument's happening at the dinner table with the 5-year-old, and understand that your vision is still important, even though your 5-year-old is having a temper tantrum about things. And again, like I'm a parent, I get it. But I also would never use being a parent as an excuse. And I abhor people that make that excuse constantly for why they can't be a better or more sound health. And I mean that emotionally, psychologically, physically, all of those things. I cannot deal with that. Like, you have to take responsibility here. These are two different things. There's you, there's your kid, and there's being a parent, right? That's in the middle. Right. So you need to establish some things right up front, and you stop making excuses and you start making changes. We've talked about parenting before, and I know people are like, don't give me any fucking parent advice. Okay, I won't. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. But I think if you sat back on the couch, at the end of the night when the kids are in bed and you're not happy with the way you look, the way you feel, the way you're performing, I think deep down, I'm fucking right. And that it doesn't have to be that way. So you have to make the choice to do it. And again, maybe you like what you've heard today. Maybe you haven't, or you don't like what you've heard today. That's fine. I think there's plenty of resources around here to help you out. So you should reach out to us. There's plenty of people here that can help you maybe steer you on the right track or give you some advice or some little tidbits of things.
100%.
Little piece on the parenting real quick before we shut it down.
Coming from the non-parent. I just want to qualify.
Coming from the guy that made the great decision of not having kids.
That's what I said too until I was like 38.
Just kidding. Man, I didn't even know where I wanted to go with that now. You guys completely blocked it off.
I think it's our fault.
Yeah, it's way
to take responsibility.
It's total. So there, responsibility. Thank you. If you want to be there for your kid in the best way, you need to be healthy. And I mean, like, when you start getting down to the age of 55 and 60 and you're having health problems and your kid is young, if you've had a kid, if you're a younger parent, you don't really have to worry about that as much. But, I've seen some parents. My dad was an older dad for me in his second marriage. And I know there's a bunch of people that do that and wait now until later. If you're going to do that, you need to be healthy for your kid later on in life, so they're not 22, 23 without a father and a mother, right?
Yep.
So
you know what? I'll tell you what. There's a story. So I was in the same situation, Jeff. Like, my mom, she died when she was in her 50s. And I remember sitting there one day, and I was finished with grad school. I was sitting there one day on the chair, and I was like, I've got to get my shit together because I was overweight. And I remember sitting there, my boobs were touching my stomach. Nice. And I had my shirt tucked up underneath my boobs because I was sweating. And I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to have a kid, if I'm going to be responsible for another living being, I need to get my shit together because I want to be around for them. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate my folks took our health as kids and their health as adults very, very seriously over the time. I mean, they're not fucking perfect, and neither is anybody here at the table, and certainly not me. But there were some things that were instilled. There were some values, and then there were some behaviors that I witnessed happen that carried through, and it's probably largely why I am where I am, in this industry and otherwise. I think it's really important stuff for people to hear, particularly now. Again, and without having too much a rant on this, I think right now what parents are even maybe have a tougher time with it than they did. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm having a tougher time. I'm just saying maybe the examples that have been set for them, for the parents of today, like those parents that are maybe 20 years behind me, they're in their late 20s, early 30s, something like that. I think they're faced with some different challenges, because their kids are being faced with different challenges. And I'm not saying whether it's easier or it's harder, it's still your fucking responsibility. Yep. It's different, and you need to face that. And the kids follow what they see. You can tell them all day long, but they will model what they see. And if you haven't realized that as a parent at this point, that's really unfortunate, because you're going to at some point. And what you don't want is for your kid to be in a situation where they cannot take care of themselves. And I get it, like you're trying to do that for them right now. But if you can't take care of yourself, then what you're showing your kid is how to not take care of themselves. Exactly. And that's what's going to end up happening down the line. So don't put yourself in that situation as a parent, and don't put your kid in that situation as a child who's depending on you to show them the way and provide a good example. You don't have to be perfect. Yeah. And if you're at that point, I've said this before, where you realize, I haven't been a great example from a health and fitness perspective, and to this point, maybe for my kid, it doesn't mean you can't change that. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. I'm not saying you got to be ripped and running marathons and, and doing that stuff. That defining fitness and health is bullshit. And that's one of the bigger problems with our industry or society, is that we define health as these things, the deadlift, the triathlon, like the marathon, whatever else. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living a healthier, more vibrant, more, just proactive life, rather than waiting for things to happen and dealing with it when it happens.